So I wanted to talk about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and how it's used as justification for thinking that God views homosexuality as a sin. I'd like to put an alternate spin on that if I can, and you can decide whether or not you agree with me. You can read the story. I typed up some notes for myself on my computer, so that's why I'm looking over here instead of over here. Let's see. So in Genesis chapter 18, the Lord and two angels visit Abraham. The Lord tells Abraham that he's going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because their sin is so grievous. That's a quote from the Bible. He tells Abraham that if he finds only 10 righteous people in the entire city, well, both cities, he won't destroy them. In chapter 19 of Genesis, the two angels who had been with the Lord visit Lot. They stay at Lot's house for the evening, and a mob from the city shows up outside the house who want to have sex with the two male angels. So Lot tells the mob to rape his virgin daughters instead. So then the angels urge Lot to leave the city so that he'll be saved, and the Lord lets him and his wife and his daughters escape because he's merciful to them. However, he tells them not to look back at the cities, which he then destroys. Lot's wife looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt. The next morning, Lot goes and looks at the destruction of the cities, but he doesn't turn into a pillar of salt. So there's a very short time frame where I guess you'll turn into a pillar of salt, and then later you won't. Then Lot's daughters deceive their father and sleep with him while he's drunk, and they both get pregnant. So God destroys the two cities allegedly, according to some Christians, because of this rampant homosexuality, but the one righteous man that he can find in these two cities offers up his two virginal daughters to be raped by a mob. So, if this is the most righteous man in the two cities, I can see why God would want to destroy them, but people using this as a passage against homosexuality aren't really, they're missing the point. So, Lot's saving the visiting male angels from being raped by the mob and offering his two virginal daughters to be raped instead. So basically, it's saying that the Lord is absolutely against males being raped, to the point that if two young women are pure and virginal, which is basically the only way for an unmarried woman to be worth anything in the Bible, he would still rather it be those two pure and virginal women who are raped than the men. Now, you can disagree with me if you want, but I have another example. So in Judges chapter 19, there's a story about a man and his concubine, which is arguably his wife who just didn't want to be married to him. She returns to her father for a time, about 4 months, and then the man goes and grabs her and says, come be with me, whatever. Anyway, she's referred to his wife as a few times as well, as being referred to as his concubine. In the beginning of chapter 20, she's also referred to as his wife, and that's definitely something you should check out. Anyway, this story is almost exactly like the first story. The man and his concubine, wife, end up becoming guests in an old man's home. An angry mob shows up, says, bring out the man in your house so that we can have sex with him. The old man says, and I quote from the Bible, "No, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this disgraceful thing. Look, here is my virgin daughter and his concubine," the man's concubine. "I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But to this man, don't do such a disgraceful thing." Then the concubine is sent outside, and I quote, "They raped her and abused her throughout the night." So then she ends up falling on the ground outside of her master or husband or whoever's house, or where he's staying, the old man's house where her husband's staying. She falls on the ground and she dies. So what I get from these two stories is that God hates it when men rape men, but offering your virginal daughter makes you the most righteous man in two cities and the only one worth saving, and offering your wife to be raped until she's dead is somehow totally acceptable. Now, there are other passages in the Bible about rape, which I'll eventually get to, I'm sure, in other videos, but this is more about what people use Sodom and Gomorrah for, which is a passage against homosexuality. No, it's not. It's a passage against men raping men, and saying that if you instead offer women who should be important to you, arguably not if you believe in the Bible, then God will love you and think that you're the most righteous man in two cities, and you're worth saving while he destroys everyone else in those two cities. So, just something to think about.